What a wild ride, right? But trust me, tomorrow's story is even more unbelievable. If you made it this far, I want to know you. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from, city, country, or even your couch with a cup of coffee. I read every single one. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you won't miss the next chapter. It's coming tomorrow, and you won't want to miss it. This is just the beginning, and things are about to get even crazier. What she did at the company party destroyed her career and marriage. As far as office holiday parties go, this one was supposed to be something special. For the first time in years, the company had booked a fancy ski resort in Colorado. There were lights strung across the snowy balconies, soft music playing through hidden speakers, and fireplaces crackling in every lounge. It looked like something out of a Hallmark movie. Mark, 41 years old and a hard-working floor supervisor, wasn't usually the type to get excited about these events, but this year felt different. His wife, Emily, had worked at the same electronics firm for nearly as long as he had. She was 36, ambitious, polished, and had recently been promoted to vice president of human resources. Though they worked in different departments and rarely crossed paths during the day, tonight was supposed to be a chance to relax together, celebrate the holidays, and maybe share a dance or two. Emily had left hours earlier than Mark to meet with senior management. The executive team had access to a private suite at the resort, complete with a premium bar, catered lunch, and exclusive access to the spa. Mark, along with the rest of the regular staff, arrived around 7 p.m. to join the main party in the ballroom. As Mark entered, he scanned the crowd for Emily. It took him a while, but when he finally saw her, he felt his breath catch. Emily looked stunning in a floor-length, silver-blue gown that shimmered under the chandelier lights. Her hair was curled perfectly, falling in waves around her shoulders, and around her neck was a diamond necklace he didn't recognize, something expensive, no doubt. Mark smiled to himself, thinking maybe she'd bought it as a treat, or maybe he was just out of the loop on her recent shopping trips. But as the night went on, something didn't sit right. Every time Mark tried to approach Emily, she was either laughing with other executives or drifting further into conversations he wasn't a part of. What really caught his attention was the way she stayed close, too close, to Nathan Carter, the new CEO. Nathan was charming, good-looking, maybe in his early 40s, with that sharp, tailored look that screamed confidence and money. Mark watched from a distance as Emily leaned in when Nathan spoke, laughed a little too hard at his jokes, and eventually joined him on the dance floor. It wasn't the kind of slow dance you'd expect between strangers. It had a rhythm, a comfort that made Mark's stomach twist. As the clock approached 10 p.m., Emily finally came over. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes glossy from champagne. She smiled like nothing was wrong and casually mentioned that the executives were heading back to their suite to wind down in private. Something was off, Mark could feel it in his gut. The dress, the necklace, the way she looked at Nathan. None of it felt like the woman he'd come to know over the last decade. And just like that, the party took a turn he'd never forget. Mark stood frozen, watching Emily walk away with the other executives. She didn't look back. The same woman he'd planned to slow dance with tonight had just left him standing in the middle of a crowded ballroom, dressed like $1 million, heading into a private suite with the company's smooth-talking CEO. He tried to shake it off, tried to be rational. Maybe it was all in his head. Maybe the dress and necklace weren't a big deal. Maybe her smiles at Nathan were just office politics, not personal interest. But no matter how many maybes he piled up, the sinking feeling in his chest didn't budge. Back at the table, Mark's buddy Dan noticed right away that something was off. Mark shared what had happened, Emily leaving, the necklace, the dancing with Nathan, and Dan didn't hold back. "That's messed up, man," he muttered. "You sure something's not going on between them?" Mark didn't answer. He just reached for another drink. One turned into two, then three. Laughter and music continued all around him, but it all felt distant, like he was underwater. At some point, Dan posted a photo of them at the table with a joking caption, "From Christmas party to sympathy party #wandering wife #great guy." That post, meant to lighten the mood, blew up in minutes. People from other tables started walking over, offering Mark sympathetic glances and awkward pats on the shoulder. "You deserve better," someone whispered. Another added, "Saw her with the CEO earlier, not a good look." Then came the avalanche. Dan's phone buzzed again, and this time he didn't laugh. "Dude, look at this." He held it up to show Mark a new post on the same page, photos. Emily, in that silver dress, dancing closely with Nathan. One photo showed her smiling up at him, eyes dazed. In another, her hand rested lightly on his arm. Then Nathan's hand was on her lower back. And in the last one, they were leaning in, lips just inches apart. The hashtags were brutal, #bosses gone wild, #close call, #inappropriate much. Mark's heart sank. These weren't blurry, misinterpreted photos. They told a clear story, and it was one he didn't want to believe. Somewhere between rage and heartbreak, Mark stumbled to the restroom, pulled off his wedding ring, and threw it into the urinal. Dan followed, and with half-drunken bravado, they recorded a short video of them laughing and peeing on it, an act of rebellion, grief, and bitter comedy. They posted it. It got over 400 likes. By now, half the party had seen the pictures. Whispers turned into open stares. And just when Mark thought the night couldn't get any worse, Emily walked back in. She looked around and instantly knew. People weren't just looking, they were judging. Booing. She stormed over to Mark, face red, eyes wide with fury. "What the hell are you doing?" she hissed. Mark took a slow sip of his drink. "Just enjoying the party," he said, his voice calm, but his world falling apart. Emily stood there, shaking with anger, her face flushed a deep shade of red that clashed with the sparkling silver of her dress. The room had gone quiet. Everyone was watching. "You need to take those posts down. Now," she snapped. Mark didn't even flinch. "Are you going to tell everyone else to take theirs down too?" he asked coolly, raising an eyebrow. Emily looked around and realized the weight of the moment. Every eye in the room was locked on her, every phone already buzzing with screenshots, hashtags, and videos. She tried to regain control. Outside clients could see this. It's a serious issue now. A disciplinary issue. That's when Dan, loyal as ever, stood up from his chair. "What are you gonna do, Emily?" "Fire the entire production crew," he said with a smirk. "We're the only reason this company is still running. And where's the CEO now? Shouldn't he be showing off his incredible leadership instead of hiding in a suite?" The crowd murmured in agreement. Mark could see it, her armor was cracking. She was trying to stay composed, but the cracks were visible. "Tell you what," Mark said, standing up to face her, "don't apologize. Don't explain. Just threaten. That's all you've done since you walked over here. But I saw those photos, Emily. And I had no idea I was married to someone like that." The air went still. "You can go back to your boyfriend now. And if he wants to fire me, I'd be more than happy to discuss it outside." That was it. Applause broke out, slow at first, then growing louder. It wasn't just support, it was a statement. Emily had been admired, even respected, but now her image was shattered. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She turned and walked out of the ballroom, heels clicking fast across the marble floor. The rest of the night blurred for Mark. The drinks kept flowing, the music came back, and somehow the sympathy party became legendary. But when he woke up the next morning, head pounding and mouth dry, reality hit hard. It was Saturday, and yet at 11 a.m., he got a message from the company secretary, "Please report to the office by 1 p.m. Mark knew what this meant. He imagined Nathan and Emily waiting in some sleek conference room, legal forms ready, security badge already deactivated. He almost didn't go. But he did, partly for closure, partly to protect Dan and the rest of the crew. What he didn't expect was to walk into the boardroom and see Alan Roberts, the company's founder and chairman, sitting alone at the table. "Take a seat, Mark," he said calmly. Mark sat, tense. Alan didn't waste time. "I've seen the posts. I know what happened. The page has been taken down, and yes, this situation is serious. Mark opened his mouth to respond, but Alan raised a hand. You'll get a verbal warning. That's it. Mark blinked, stunned. That's all? Alan nodded. But that's not the whole story. There's more. Mark sat there, stunned, as Alan leaned back in his chair and folded his arms. Nathan Carter has been fired, Alan said bluntly. Gross misconduct. Using company money for personal gifts. Inappropriate relationships. And honestly, I just never liked the guy. Mark blinked. Wait, fired? I thought I was the one on the chopping block. Alan gave a short laugh. You? Hell no. You might have made a little noise, sure, but you were provoked. That necklace he gave Emily? Company expense. And you're not the only one who felt uncomfortable watching them dance like they were auditioning for a soap opera. A few other board members saw it, too. This isn't about one bad night, it's about a pattern. Mark let out a slow breath, his heart still pounding. And Emily, he asked carefully. Alan's tone shifted, more serious now. She's suspended while we investigate. There's a chance she'll be let go too. Depends on what else we find, and who decides to talk. Frankly, if she tries to sue or shift the blame to Nathan, it won't end well for her. But hey, that part's out of your hands now. Mark nodded silently. There was nothing else to say. As he left the boardroom, he spotted Emily sitting alone on one of the lobby couches. Her posture was rigid, but her eyes were red. He considered walking past her. He almost did. But something in him, curiosity, closure, maybe even a shred of old love, made him stop. He sat down beside her. She didn't look at him right away. So, what now? He asked quietly. Emily's voice was barely a whisper. I'm sorry. Mark turned slightly toward her. For what exactly? She hesitated. I didn't sleep with him. Her voice cracked. We didn't, it never got that far. But I was drawn to him. I don't even know why. It felt exciting at first, and then. I don't know. I just got swept up in it. Mark stared ahead, jaw clenched. You spent all day with him, Emily. You wore that dress for him. You wore his necklace. You ignored me, you danced with him, you left with him, and you planned to stay the night. But I'm supposed to believe it was innocent? No, she said softly. It wasn't innocent. But it wasn't physical either. We kissed. That's it. But I was thinking about it, maybe I would have crossed the line. I honestly don't know. I saw the photos online and panicked. And when I saw what you did with your ring, her voice cracked again. I realized I'd gone too far. Mark reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was the necklace he'd planned to give her at the party. I was going to give you this that night, he said, holding it out. But you already had one that sparkled more, cost more, and came with attention you clearly wanted. Emily burst into tears. Mark stood up. Maybe you're telling the truth. Maybe you're not. I'll never know, and that's the problem. Because marriage without trust isn't marriage at all. And with that, he walked away. 12 months. That's how long it had been since the night everything fell apart. Mark could still remember every second of that Christmas party, the music, the cold sting of betrayal, the sound of applause after his final words to Emily. He remembered walking away from her sobbing on that couch, the weight of their broken marriage pressing down on his shoulders. And yet, here he was again. Another Christmas party. Another December. But this time, everything was different. The company had changed a lot since then. Nathan was long gone, and Alan Roberts had stepped back in as CEO, hands-on, sharp, and determined to clean house. Emily? She'd been demoted to HR advisor during the investigation, then quietly left the company a few months later. Mark never saw her again, aside from a few awkward legal emails when the divorce went through fast, easy, and done completely online. He thought it would feel more dramatic, but in the end, it was just over. And now, standing in a packed local bar, no resort, no ball gowns, no champagne towers, Mark felt something he hadn't in a long time: peace. He wore a simple navy button-up and jeans. Nothing fancy. But when she walked in, heads turned. Rachel, the redhead from payroll, stepped into the room wearing a satin blue dress that fit her like it was made for her. Her smile lit up the space, and when she spotted Mark across the room, she waved with that same warmth that had pulled him out of his darkest place just a few months earlier. They'd been dating for 4 months now. It wasn't dramatic or wild, it was steady, genuine, and real. She knew everything about what happened last year. She didn't flinch when he told her. She just listened. That meant everything. As they hugged, Dan, loyal Dan, shouted across the room, "Well damn, look who finally upgraded." The room burst into laughter, and Mark couldn't help but grin. They danced. They drank, lightly this time. And for the first time in a long while, Mark felt like he was where he was supposed to be. He had gotten promoted to operations manager over the summer, and just last week, he'd been invited to sit on the board of directors. Funny how life works: you think you're being torn apart, only to realize it was clearing space for something better. And Emily? Well, she'd called once. Left a message. Said she finally understood what she'd lost. Mark never called back. Not because he hated her, but because some doors need to stay closed. The music picked up. Rachel leaned in and whispered, "This party's way better than last year, huh?" Mark laughed, wrapping an arm around her. "Yeah, and this time, I actually want to be here." Sometimes, the worst night of your life turns out to be the first step toward something better. And this Christmas? This one was finally worth celebrating. This story hit hard, didn't it? Betrayal, heartbreak, redemption, it had it all. But now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in Mark's shoes? Would you have walked away the same way he did, or tried to forgive? And what about Emily? Was she truly sorry, or just sorry she got caught? Everyone sees these situations differently, and that's what makes the conversation so powerful. So drop your thoughts in the comments below. Seriously, don't hold back. Was Mark right to move on? Do you believe people deserve second chances after crossing emotional lines? Or are some mistakes unforgivable? And hey, don't just comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Whether you're in New York, Texas, London, or watching from your car on a lunch break, I love seeing this community grow from all corners of the world. Your thoughts could spark a whole discussion down there, and who knows, your comment might even inspire our next story. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and turn on that bell, because tomorrow's story is even wilder, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.